Hello, my name is back to another 5-inch channel. I'm Jacob, Books Corner, and today we're here to talk about Murderbot. I had started this video like 2 weeks ago. Fun fact, the world decided that the intro didn't need sound. Murderbot is an ongoing series. We're going to read up to the point where I can and continue onwards. I have some other thoughts and opinions, and I guess in this particular one, we'll talk about the first two original novellas, or the two original short stories that came before All Systems Red and All Systems Red here. However, I do want to talk about Murderbot since I have an idea about it as a non-spoiler discussion, as I've read 5 of these things by the point that we're talking about this, because I didn't realize. Well, Murderbot in general follows MB, which is titled Murderbot. He is a synthetic droid. He has the body and the face of a man. He does not have the parts. He doesn't feel the need for the parts or anything, but he does look like an average human being, essentially from the naked eye, and he is there for protection. He's built for security purposes. He is there to blend in with the general public if need be, to take down things the general public cannot take down. By this point in the story, he has already modded himself, so he is a modded version of a synth droid. And he has a very strong addiction to reality television and no caring for humans, and it's very endearing. And that's very non-spoilerly of what Murderbot is about. You're following this bot as he's going on this journey in this galaxy with a bunch of other things. Which is why we're going to jump into spoilers for the first novella, which came out, or short story, which came out like a year before the actual series began. It's super fucking annoying. And I wouldn't even count this as a part of the series. So the first one, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about this teacher. They are on a spaceship for kids with special needs, disabled kids, that type of situation. Also teaching all types of kids. It's a school spaceship is the moral here, but special needs and disabled is like very important to the story, which is why I mentioned it. And it's a murder mystery. Essentially, their normal android bot is murdered, massacred, and like very brutal on screen or on page, not on screen. I felt like watching a movie. And you're trying to solve this murder with these children running around, and it's a teacher who's doing the solving. It ends up being a really interesting conversation. However, based on a lot of different conversations I've had, I landed on like a 2 for this. By the way, I did not like it. Even though I just gave it a compliment, I promise you that's like the only compliment I could probably give. I did find it extremely aimless. Especially on reflection. About halfway through it, there was a few lines that really caught me off guard. And I was like, okay, but I've read other things where they have atomic like body parts. And this has always been a conversation about how, like, when we live in a society that can fix what people believe should be fixed, should it be? Also, the conversation of like, you are being ableist by saying that a cybotic spine that can make someone walk again means you're helping them, because in reality you're not helping them. They could be living their life just fine, and by telling them they need this upgrade, this intrusion onto themselves to better themselves in your eyes, not in the like generalistic eyes, or not in their eyes. I mean, that itself is a conversation that needs to happen. And I recommend this book about an author, which is the whole point of it. That's the entire thesis. So that's where I recommend you go. It's beautiful. It's very long. I do think there's aspects of it that don't fully connect, but this is where, if you're looking for a conversation that's nuanced and that has a lot of credibility to it, that's where I recommend you go. I don't know if the author is wheelchair bound or not. That is something I would have to do research on. The point of this, because there are spoilers, the guy is kill this droid to take parts to help better himself. He is a very sad man who's had injuries and stuff, and he believes that if he fixes himself, he will become better. This guy is murdered very brutally, and the story ends. Is the whole consensus. There's also conversation about how they treat the children and things like that, but that's not important here. The important part is this conversation about ableism, as it does follow throughout the rest of the books, which is where the interesting part comes in. Not in the first 2 that we're going to talk about, but in books I've encountered, there's been an interesting conversation about it. So we'll jump back to this in future, and like later on in this video. Let's talk about this one. This is a 9-page thing. I did not rate it because it was 9 pages. It simply is just telling you how Murderbot gets to where he is at the beginning of All Systems Red. It's like a little prelude. It's essentially what it is. It's fun, it's cute, especially if you like the character. All Systems Red is, we have this group of people, they're on a planet. Murderbot is there to protect them, and it's about his relationships getting closer with these people and understanding how humans work and things, which is really cute and fun. It's what makes Murderbot a good time, especially in this initial novel. His relationships seem so pure and so kind and so sweet, and they end up having to go explore this facility where they find other bots who are very dangerous, who are trying trying to kill them as well. And it's about the mystery of this at hand. Turns out the place that they are on currently, the government doesn't want anybody to know about, and so they're actually turning them against one another to kill off the facilities here. Murderbot ends up surviving. He does get this virus. The people do end up saving him, and they also set him free. They tell him, come work on this farm. You will never have to be a sec unit again, which is what they're called, what I described at the beginning. And he actually decides to go against this, which is where book 2 takes off. But that's book 1. Let's go ahead and jump into a different Jacob who the review did happen. We're going to talk about Our Official Condition. This is book 2 in the Murderbot. I wish I had more things to say about it. I don't really have a lot. So this follows MB as he decides to rebel and leave before they leave for the farm. He doesn't think he can survive on the farm. He feels like he is going there to be wasteful because of the fact that it's not who he is. It's not what he believes he is. He doesn't think he can protect anybody on the farm. They're just simply giving him like, hey, you can come chill. And he doesn't really understand the idea of chilling. So he ends up becoming this security guard for hire for cheaper on the go. He has a lot of security places where they send out all these different bots for these like really risky missions. If it's for journalists, this one's for journalists. Or if it's for like anything else, it's a really high dollar that you have to pay and most people can't afford it. And so he doesn't really understand the concept of money or anything or those lines because he's never had to use it before. So he's a really low hire. We meet him as he's just kind of trying to be like a human. And he meets another bot who ends up accessing his mind, who realizes who he is, called Art. Art becomes a very pleasant person, and I do wonder if there's like a sparking of a romance here because I'm hella intrigued. There's also some other stuff going on with some like other teammates. I'm like, oh, also intrigued. That doesn't seem like it's gonna be moving forward. Art does seem like a recurring character. I don't know if they'll be in the next book, but they might be in a further book. Once again, intrigued for sure. They talk, they have a good time, they watch some TV shows, and then he gets recruited to do this mission where they're going off planet onto a different planet to source out some data. Essentially, this group of people believe that they can get down to why robots are rebelling, and particularly in the sex bot industry. But all their information was practically stolen, and now they're being blackmailed to this planet to get the information so they can create the article and make the big like headways and stuff. Murderbot agrees to go on this mission with this group of people, get there, realize that the planet itself is not very safe. It was a setup. They try to kill them really early on, like in the plan. This is a transported plane, so there's a bunch of other people. It's not just even this group, but this person wanted them dead right away, and Murderbot saved the day in a way, and he's talking very vaguely because they don't understand what Murderbot is. He's lying to them. He's acting like a different type of bot, and so there's elements of his character that is being kept secret that does slowly become revealed to this group of people. Early on, he realizes that they need to leave. They go through another life or death situation, and he says everybody needs to leave, and he will finish off this mission by himself. And they're like, oh, how can we get it to you? And he explains it, okay? Well, one of them ended up not leaving. He ends up getting into a bit of a tit-bat with this other person who's on this other side, end up injured and back to the ship. He goes, and he realizes that a human is on the ship. They say they're sorry, and they wish him the best, and then Art shows back up at his head, and they kind of have like this like little moment, like I said, which is interesting. I like it. I'm not mad about it. And so Murderbot does what Murderbot does and saves the day. He realizes the outsourced problem for the sex bots, and even the main one who is doing all these issues is being mind controlled. And so he cures them of their mind control and lets them go with a request. And so I do wonder if that's a storyline that'll pop up in the future as well. And by the end, he's very honest with the group of people. He gives them back the information, and he decides he wants to go hunt down the crew that made him feel safe at home. And that's where the book ends. And I'm really excited to see what happens with the next one. I landed on a 3.75. I don't think it was nearly as good as the original, but I'm excited to experience this character further. I think there's more stories to tell inside this world, and I just love a sci-fi world. Oh my god, I love it so much. So I'm not mad to be here. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm having a pretty good month for reading when it comes to genres that I love dipping my toes into, and there's so many books and these series that I'm picking up. I'm having a good time. That being said, that's my update for you. Then I read 2.5, which is called Retreat or something along those lines. This one, oh, I can't think of the name. The other AI, and also Murderbot does tag along quite a bit for it. It's a lot of back and forth dialogue between one another. I thought it was really cute. However, there's a whole conversation about this. Now people never did feel a romantic connection. I felt the romantic connection immediately, so I don't find this to be very bad. It does seem like some people believe that Murderbot should be asexual, which I can kind of see. I would be curious to see where this relationship is furthered, which is the only thing I took away from this. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, I'm gonna come in here and talk about the third book in Murderbot series. This was a 3.25, which is like one of the lower mainline series. I had some issues with this. Essentially, this book, it's another book where it's just kind of meandering in space, in which now I'm understanding that maybe this series is just meandering in space with some conflict. We meet a whole new group of people. They now have the difference here. The different setup here is that they have a bot that they treat almost as an animal, as a pet. That's like their best friend in the entire world. And so we are running around with this group of people. A lot of them do not trust Murderbot. He ends up on their ship as a secret and then having to come out when they realize that there are other things on here that are much more dangerous and deadly. And so they have to jump planet. That's all I really remember from this. The creature thing does end up dying very violently, which is also something I remember. By this like superhuman synth bot, he does end up taking care of, and he continues his journey onwards, by the way, to go find this farm. We'll see if we ever get there. I know this is so short. I'm so sorry, but like, I guess I just need to talk to you guys on the day that I read them. I'll keep that in mind for next time. We are talking about exit strategy, but we're also talking about home, I think is what's called. Home, habitat, range, niche, and territory is what it's called. The fourth book, which we'll talk about, is Exit Strategy. This is Murderbot and finally getting connected with the people that he's with in All Systems Red. He finally found them. One of them, his best friend, his number one ally, is kidnapped, and so the whole novel is him taking place trying to get this person back. It's extremely fast-paced. Probably the best Murderbot book outside of the original one so far. I was not bored at all. I was intrigued. I was interested. I enjoyed my time reading it to the point where I wanted to jump to the next one, and I actually kind of read part of book 6. Don't talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get there. I'll probably start off where I'm at. It's interesting. I'm like, why is it such a vast difference from that ending to where we are? And now I know why. I skipped a whole ass novel. Like, these are like 180 pages, and this novel is like 400. So I skipped a lot of Murderbot without knowing. So that was that one. I gave it a 4. Highly recommend. I loved it. I love the characters. I love the interactions. Murderbot here also particularly just seemed a little bit more edgier, and I think it worked really well on him. I'm very, very excited for this development. That being said, we are going to move over to home, habitat, range, and niche territory. This is 4.5. This is a novella, or a short story that you would get if you would have pre-ordered a Network Effect, which is the 5th entry, the one where I'm going to be jumping into today, which I already thought I was 10% into. No, I'm not. Sorry. With this one follows Dr. Mensa. That's what it is. Dr. Mensa, Adia Mensa, and it's just going through the events of the last book through her POV, getting an understanding of what she went through when she was kidnapped, what that situation was like, re-encountering Murderbot again, and showing a little bit of where we're at, but not enough to like really talk about. There isn't really anything here. I'm probably gonna land on a 19 pages is hard to read, okay? It's so short that I'm like, is there anything really here of substance? There was no beginning, no end. It's just a character POV and seeing Murderbot through different eyes. It's fun, it's cute. I think I'll probably give it a 4 as well, is where I stand. That's Murderbot. I will talk to you when I read the next one. Hi, let's talk about Network Effect. This is Murderbot Diary number 5, I think, on Goodreads. And I've been going back and forth on what order to tell you guys to read these in. I do think Rapport, because Rapport is set, people say you should read it after book 6. On Storygraph it says book 6.5, I think, for Rapport. No, book 7.5. However, I do think it's necessary to read after book 2, after art is introduced. So that I do agree with on the Goodreads list. Also on Goodreads list, it goes off, I think, of order of release. So maybe it does fit. No, I feel like you should read it there. That's how I feel. However, I just read Network Effect. I'm like 50% into Fugitive Telemetry as well. I'm not liking either of them. Fugitive Telemetry takes place before the events of Network Effect, after the events of book 4, and so I do kind of wish I would have just finished it. I don't think there's any spoilers in here where you can't read them in order. I don't know why this was the way they were released. It annoys me greatly, and I now wonder if System Collapse is the newest one, because Network Effect ends on a way. That's what we're talking about today. So Network Effect is technically book number 5. It came out, the 5th book. It came out in 2020. It's the only full-length novel, I guess, from the series. However, System Collapse, I think, is is long. System Collapse is a bit longer than normal. It's 245 pages. And then we also have Platform Decay. I guess I don't think it comes out until next year though. Yeah, May 5th of next year. It's also not 256 pages. Sorry. I just don't. This might be a long running series for no reason. Let me talk about it. But also I feel like maybe in my opinion this works as really good as novellas because I just loved the last one I just read from it. I felt like book 4 was so good, Exit Strategy. So Network Effect being so bad was like kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Network Effect follows our good old friend Murder as he gets a quest. Essentially him and his crew get drawn into this battle, I should say, with a rivalry that he didn't realize, and he believes his best friend Art, who also could be in a romantic relationship, which is why I think I recommend reading this beforehand so these feelings don't come out left field, are also at play, and he believes he has died, and so he's searching for him for the majority of the novel. This is all spoilers. He is obviously not dead, or they are not dead. I'm going to use they them pronouns when describing Art as a person. They are not dead. They're also an AI. Essentially, Art is the ones who originally made Murderbot who he is. He was the reason, they are the reason why he can, watch his movies and stuff. It's essentially very integral. They've been together for a very long time. And obviously he's been with this team from the first book for a while now as well. And with this one, they have to branch off and he ends up going on this journey to save these people outside of all this. And in this process of the events, by the end of the book, Art ends up asking him if Murderbot can come along with them as a sec unit for their next plan of attack. And when talking to Dr. Meza, asks very simply, hey, how do you feel about this? And Dr. Meza thinks, well, I mean, you guys are probably gonna, be in a relationship, so I guess it's fine, is what the answer was. And then the next book doesn't even follow it, so I don't know. I'm so mixed on the novel itself. Essentially, that's the plot of it, and Murderbot goes and saves his team that got kidnapped. Essentially, these people came in, and they threatened Art, and Art did this whole plan, but also these people, there's certain people went crazy. I'm describing it very vaguely and horribly, I'm so sorry. If this is your favorite one out of the series, I didn't like it, at all. To the point where I gave it a 3, and I really think it's a 2.5 in my opinion. I just didn't care for it. I didn't really like Murderbot a lot here. I think there's a lot of characteristics. They're making Martha Wells decided to make him a lot more human. A lot of these characteristics I don't really like in Murderbot. I like how much he cares, but in a Murderbot sense of way, and this feels more not correct. I also don't know. I like them flirting in the little novella, but I don't know how much I enjoy it being here, especially because Art as a character is such a jackass, a pompous jackass ass the whole time, that it makes me upset because I just feel like Murderbot deserves better. But it's interesting seeing these emotions, him going through this grief and then coming back from this grief, being mad about the grief, and then also feeling these emotions that he doesn't really understand. All these things I think make for great reading. I also felt like the book was way too long. By the time we were hitting what I believe would have been the third act, there was a whole other plot that got introduced because the book's still 180 pages longer, and so they have to have a whole entire plot. And so I feel like maybe Network Effect should have been 2 books, but maybe it shouldn't have been. I don't know. I landed on a 3 though. Moral of the story. Like I said, I'm pretty much almost done with the next one, and we will see how that goes. A lot of people seem to like this one though, so I feel like I am in the negatives for it. It just didn't work for me. I'll talk to you guys when I read the next one. All right, let's talk about Fugitive Telemetry. This is book number 6, but I don't recommend reading here. If you're someone who finds, well, I don't know, because if you're someone, you have to have read Network Effect first to have a similar, opinion in this regard. But if you're someone who's ooh, Murderbot doesn't seem like Murderbot from the get-go, from very early on in that book, you're why is that? Well, that's because this story existed and it was told afterwards, because I'm assuming some people had questions, and this was Martha Wells' response to it. Art also plays a small role here as being the person who instigates everything. Essentially, Art believes that he's becoming too sympathetic, and so he murders. It was not really intentional, but Art does end up murdering a few people here. One person in particular, and they go on this little chase over the preservation station that they're located in before the events and Network Effect, which takes them to where Art directly is. We also have, so that's where that follows, and this is where Murderbot becomes more human, where he starts to look at what a sec unit is and what a security sec unit is, the differences in what he believes in and what he thinks he should believe in. Him going through that whole list, him going through the whole entire panic of it all, I'm going to be honest with you. That's what the whole point of this book is. That's the majority, and that's the story. Because this is not the first Martha Wells, I mean, I like the twist a little bit. Maybe it's like a 3.25. It's not my first Martha Wells where she's done a murder mystery, especially in this world. I like this much better than the one I had originally read. But it wasn't super enthralling to me. Also, in my opinion, even though it does seem like a little out there when you first started, because it doesn't seem like it starts anywhere, I still am under the belief that this should probably be read beforehand, before Network Effect, because MB acts so, in my opinion, different and makes such choices that I just didn't agree with that the character would make. And with having this introspect on him, I do think he would make some of those choices now, and that makes it, and I would have probably, I'm gonna be honest with you, enjoyed that book even more. So another reason why to read it. Alright, that's Fugitive Elementary. Read the last Murderbot. Okay, let's do a little bit of chit chat. Right, so I think I talked about this already when I talked about Fugitive Elementary. This is for Murderbot, by the way, if you're curious. We're closing out this video 2 months later. I'm so sorry. I thought I filmed a clip for you guys that was dedicated to the final book in the series, and I guess my brain was just like, no, you're done, you can move on, and so I moved on. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do a review for System Collapse. However, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember this book really at all, so we're gonna try our best. And I do know, because I got really confused, because Fugitive Elementary comes out after Network Effect, and Network Effect, Murderbot was going through so many emotional changes as a character that I'm pretty sure I did talk about. I didn't gel. And then this book explained why those events were going on, which I guess helped and made a bit more sense, but it didn't really fully work. And then the next book, which is, like I said, System Collapse, I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. System Collapse takes place after the events of Network Effect. I know they're trying to save people off. They end up going off to this planet, and they're trying to save people from becoming, like, slaves. But honestly, if I'm gonna be so for real with you, that's about as far as I really remember. I gave it a 3. I wish I had more to say, especially because it's the final book, and I want to have something to talk about with you guys for these reasons and stuff. And I just don't have those, and I am sorry. I wish I would have done better. I wish I would have. So let's go ahead and talk about overall thoughts and rankings of Murderbot. Murderbot on its own, the first one, All Systems Red, I loved. I could not recommend more. I think it's a beautiful story. I think it encapsulates everything I wanted from the series, but also encapsulates everything that was not okay with the series as well. Because, like, in ways, it shows you what the story could be, and I don't ever think it gets back to this level. I don't think it ever becomes this again, where it's cozy, it's sweet, you're dealing with characters that are lovable. And yes, there are characters in this series that are lovable. I like Murderbot. I like Murderbot dealing with his emotions. Oh my god, that's right. Oh my god, he's fighting the whole time with Art, because Art ends up taking over the ship, right? Is this in this one? And then he's like trying to figure out if he can trust Art, and he feels betrayed. Maybe that's Network Effect. That could have been Network Effect. See my problem here? So I really like the first one, right? And then the only other ones that I felt like even matched those abilities was number 4 for Exit Strategy. I couldn't tell you really what it's about, but I did give it a 4. I do remember feeling this need to continue onwards, and I really liked how it taught Range, Niche, and Territory, which was like a deep dive into a different character. But the problem here is it was followed up by Network Effect. I gave Network Effect a 3, but for being here, that is the catalyst for my enjoyment of the series, like, overall. And so, like, it probably should be lower. It should probably be like a 2, how much I ended up not enjoying the series by the end. And I do say a lot of that was because of Network Effect. So Network Effect, in my opinion, is by far the worst one in this series. There's a new one coming out next year. Will I read it? I don't know. We will see. Maybe by that point I'll be ready to jump back inside this world and try it again. I read all of these really quickly. It took me a little over a month to read every book in this series. Is this a weird ending? It is, because I thought I already filmed it. And so when I was going back and editing this to get this out for you guys, I realized I didn't. I was like, oh fuck. Okay, well, let's sit down and let's figure this out. So this is me figuring it out. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know that it was an interesting experience for me. I like the idea of reading novellas. I like the idea of what this could be. However, I just didn't think the plot moved forward enough in the series. I don't think we've reached enough places. Murderbot as a series felt like it meandered too much. It felt like we had constant goals that never got reached, or if we did get reached, it would be like 4 books later. And that's very frustrating for me as a reader. And I'm not even saying it's because like they're novellas, because I don't personally think that's the reason why. I just don't know if her plan was to ever build this world out like she did. Murderbot goes on so many different journeys. The beautiful thing about the first one are the characters and how they interact with Murderbot. I don't think, even when they get brought back in, I don't think there's any of those like very beautiful interactions that I wanted. I do think Murderbot and Art, the relationship was complicated, interesting, and had a lot of developments to it, so I would be interested to see where that goes. That's where I stand. I will talk to you guys all next time for Diary of a Lady. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you read Murderbot. Let me know which one's your favorite. Let me know if I have a horrible take. I'm all cool with all those answers as well. Let me know if you agree with me. And I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.